New at 9, a 13-year-old is back home tonight after two teens poured gasoline on him and lit him on fire. This happened yesterday in the 2200 block of Quincy Avenue, just after school ended at East High. KMBC 9's Rebecca Gannon is live near the scene at the Kansas City East Patrol Station. Rebecca?
Oh, good evening. The boy lives with his family just a few minutes away from here, and I spoke with the boy this afternoon. He is doing well. Now, he and his family know he is quite lucky to be home tonight, let alone be alive, after being set on fire almost 24 hours ago. The family knows this story could have had a much, much different outcome.
My 5-year-old this morning came in and asked me, "Mom, am I going to get set on fire today?" I was in tears.
Melissa Kuhn says what happened on Tuesday afternoon has affected her family forever. 24 hours after it happened, you can still see and smell the gas can. Proof of what happened to her 13-year-old son. She says he left East High School Tuesday afternoon, and near the stadium, he noticed two other teens following him up Quincy Avenue. As he got home,
And they rushed him up on the porch as he was trying to get the door open. He poured the gasoline and flicked the bic and said, "This is what you deserve. You get what you deserve, white boy."
the two suspects ran away, and the 8th grader put the fire out with the shirt off of his back. He spent several hours in the Children's Mercy burn unit.
You could smell the burnt skin, you could smell the burnt hair, it just smelled, it's horrible.
Now, Kuhn says that she and her family will move and her son will not return to East High, in part because he believes his attackers are actually students at the same high school he attends.
Thank you. And that local rally for Trayvon Martin is hitting home with a local mom who says her son was a victim of a terrible crime as well. KCTV5's Amy Anderson is live with that story. Amy?
Well, Brad, it was almost a month ago. A 13-year-old boy walking home from school says he was set on fire by two boys he didn't even know. Tonight, that boy's mother is asking everyone to remember all crime victims right here at home, as well as Trayvon.
It's very hard for him. It's hard for all of us as a family, too, having to deal with this.
The story of a 13-year-old Kansas City boy walking home from East High School, being followed by two boys and allegedly set on fire on his own front porch, made a lot of parents cringe. And with no new developments in the case, it's faded from the spotlight. We talked with the alleged victim's mother on the phone.
It's just very frustrating because I feel like we're being brushed off and there's nothing that's happening for us.
The boy's mother says while what happened to her son pales in comparison to the case of Trayvon Martin, she says it's a good reminder for everyone in the metro to continue to look out for children here in Kansas City.
It's a horrible tragedy, and my heart definitely goes out to Trayvon and their family, and I hope they get the answers and everything they want. But we do too here in Kansas City want all the answers we need to help us here to make sure this city is not as violent anymore.
We asked the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department for an update on the case. Sergeant Stacy Graves responded saying, quote, "This is not an incident we take lightly. Detectives have reached out to the community and members of the school district in the course of this investigation to learn as much as they can about what occurred and may have led up to the assault. And they're still doing that today."
Details tonight about a young man who was severely burned on a bus in Oakland and the 16-year-old who is accused of setting him on fire. KTVU's Eric Rasmussen is live now in San Francisco, where the victim is being treated for his burns. Eric.
Julie, this 18-year-old who goes by Sasha Fleischman is in the burn unit here at St. Francis Memorial Hospital. I briefly spoke with his parents tonight, who said they were simply too upset to go on camera. Some of Fleischman's other family and friends are expressing relief tonight that police have a suspect in custody. Police say this 16-year-old in a hood and handcuffs did the unthinkable, setting a sleeping passenger on fire on the AC Transit Line 57 bus in Oakland.
Pulled up right behind him.
This woman told us her bus arrived on the scene at MacArthur and Ardley Avenue last night, moments after the bus carrying the victim and suspect pulled over.
We saw the guy who was laying out there burned.
Is he in bad shape?
Yeah, he was in bad shape. His legs was all burnt up, red and black.
Today, friends of 18-year-old Sasha Fleischman set up a website to raise money to help pay for his medical treatment. His parents tell us he's a senior at Maybeck High School in Berkeley.
Everybody started yelling. They was like, "Fire, fire," and I turned around, and this guy, he was like jumping up and down.
Witnesses said the victim appeared to be wearing a kilt or a skirt, but police don't have a motive. They say the suspect, a student at Oakland High School, didn't know Sasha Fleischman. We rode the same bus line through Oakland tonight. This man commended his fellow bus driver for taking quick action and calling for help. You ever had any trouble on this line before?
Most of the time it's okay, but not every day is sunshine. I'll put it to you that way.
Oakland police say they tracked their suspect down using surveillance video from the bus. They tell us the victim, Fleischman, is in stable condition here tonight with second and third degree burns. We're live in San Francisco. Eric Rasmussen, KTVU Channel 2 News.
New at 5 o'clock after being in the hospital for several weeks, Sasha Fleischman, the gender-neutral teenager who was set ablaze while riding on an AC Transit bus, is back at school. Crown 4's Hazik Madyun was there for the highly anticipated arrival.
Sasha Fleischman returns to Maybeck High School in Berkeley. Here you see the 18-year-old Maybeck High senior being dropped off by the teen's mom, Debbie Fleischman, Monday afternoon.
Sasha's very excited and feeling good, and that's what he's missed most, is going to school. Being at school with his friends and going to classes with their friends.
Here you see the gender-neutral Sasha wearing a black skirt with both legs bandaged, walking with a noticeable limp. The teen's mom says although the doctor gave Sasha the go-ahead to return to school after being hospitalized 3 weeks with second and third degree burns on the lower body, as a parent she says she still has concerns about Sasha's strength holding up throughout the school day.
Just stamina-wise, they've been through a tremendous, horrific thing, and the healing is still going to be going on for months.
Back in early November, a 16-year-old Oakland high school student who's now in custody being charged with a hate crime set Sasha's skirt on fire after Sasha fell asleep riding home from school on an AC Transit bus, Sasha's preferred mode of getting to and from Maybeck. However, Mrs. Fleischman says there will be no bus riding, at least not for a while.
Well, just because they're still really getting their legs back in terms of being able to walk and everything, that it just doesn't make sense to be doing the bus right now. So, but eventually they want to do it, but they want to do it with friends.
As for Maybeck's plan for welcoming Sasha back, the school's director put it this way.
So we didn't really have anything planned today, but I know we're all thrilled to have Sasha back.
In Berkeley, Hazik Madyun, Crown 4 News.
Discovery, the badly burned body of a 12-year-old boy found in a ditch in northeast Houston.
Today, the woman accused of killing Jonathan Foster is on trial for his murder, and it is a judge, not a jury, who will decide Mona Nelson's fate.
Eyewitness News reporter Deborah Wrigley has been in the courtroom all day and brings us today's testimony and the one piece of evidence prosecutors will not give. Deborah?
That's right, Alona, and what we are talking about in this case is motive. None was given by the state in its opening statements this morning. It's not necessarily in a trial, but it still leaves the mystery of Jonathan Foster's death unanswered. When Jonathan Foster turned 12, his wish was to go live with his mother and her new husband. A month after coming to Houston in 2010, he was kidnapped, murdered, his burned body dumped in a ditch. And the prosecution says it was Mona Nelson who killed him on Christmas Eve.
We had the defendant taking Jonathan, and between 2:15 and 6:08, she killed him.
Nelson conceded in the past that she dumped the contents of a garbage can from her truck into a drainage ditch, but she says she did it at the request of the boy's stepfather. Inside was the body of the boy wrapped in carpet. The first witness, Jonathan's mother, Angela Davis, heart-wrenching testimony in which she spoke of a phone call she received at work on Christmas Eve. A manager said it was from her babysitter, but Jonathan didn't have one. She called. A strange woman answered, she says. She could hear her son in the background, and then the line went dead. When she returned to the duplex where she and Jonathan were staying with a friend, no one was home. Davis: I ran up and down the street, banging on doors, standing in the parking lot, hollering my son's name. 4 days later, her fears were realized when she was told her son's body had been found. Davis: all I could do was scream. There's a lot I don't remember about that day.
Man to be indicted in Mississippi teen's burning death. A man suspected in another homicide has now been indicted in the burning death of teen Jessica Chambers. Quentin Tellis is believed to be the last person with Jessica Chambers the night she was set on fire near Cortland, Mississippi. Chambers was barely alive when she was found on December 6, 2014, shortly after 8 p.m., after her car had been set alight with her inside. When emergency responders arrived at the scene, she was still able to say a few words about the attack, despite burns that covered 98% of her body. She later died at a hospital in Memphis. Tellis was also suspected, although not formally charged, in the death of Ming Chen Xiao, who was found stabbed in her Monroe, Louisiana apartment on August 8, 2015. He admitted to using a debit card belonging to the woman before her death. In the past, Tellis had also been charged with residential burglary, simple assault, and domestic violence. However, the last two of those charges were dismissed in May 2011 after the complainants didn't show up in court.
On March the 31st, 2013, Escambia County Fire responded to 3543 Mobile Highway in reference to a structure fire. Upon getting on scene, they located a white female inside the residence behind the door. The fire marshals were able to determine that the fire started on the bed in the residence, along with a hammer that was found in the bed. During a canvass of the apartment complex, we located a surveillance video. Upon watching the video, we believe we had 3 suspects caught on camera, 2 black males and a black female. We located all 3 suspects Friday afternoon, at which time they were all brought to the sheriff's office. We obtained confessions from all 3 of the individuals. The motive for the robbery was Melinda McCormick's Social Security benefits card. They were going to attempt to get the card to get the money.
You know, this was a particular hateful crime. It was planned out and executed. And one of the saddest parts of this story is that the card that they intended to steal was not even in the woman's residence. It was going to come a few days later.
Can't put our hands around that she was murdered.
Dorothy Dow's daughter-in-law found the strength to talk about the 83-year-old woman less than a day after she lost her fight. After weeks in the Grady Burn unit, the Granville woman died Saturday afternoon, passing as a result of injuries from a brutal home robbery attempt in early August.
I can't imagine being one of their mamas and knowing their child has done this.
Authorities say this group, that includes 4 teenagers, worked for Dow in her blueberry fields. The woman would pay them in cash, but on August 4th, authorities say they decided to go after more money, breaking into Dow's home, breaking her arm, fingers, and setting her on fire. She told them there was no money. Somehow Dow managed to douse herself with water and call 911.
That I had been married to her son 38 years. And I never knew she was as strong as she was. I know with every ounce in my heart that the reason she fought so hard, and she told us she thought they were coming down to get him.
Dow managed to give investigators details. After the first week, her family says they knew they were going to lose her. Now they need to come face to face with the suspect.
I would love to talk to him and just ask why you did this.
67-year-old woman is fighting for her life with severe burns all over her body. A Good Samaritan chased the suspect down after seeing him douse the homeless woman in alcohol and light her on fire. This all happened at Van Nuys Boulevard and Sherman Way. Eyewitness News reporter Sid Garcia is there live now, where friends say the woman lived on that bus bench for 10 years. Sid.
Some saying maybe even closer to 20. It happened on the bus bench you see directly behind me. There are some flowers there to mark the spot where this homeless woman was brutally attacked. Investigators and friends of hers are still trying to sort out as to why someone would attack her while she was sleeping. The victim's name, according to friends, is Violet. Police say she was set on fire just after 1 this morning. Police have arrested this man, 24-year-old Dennis Patillo, and booked him for attempted murder. Erickson Ipina says he saw Patillo walk into the Walgreens and purchase some rubbing alcohol, then walk out of the store towards Violet.
Then he just poured it all over the old lady, and then he threw the match on her and start running. So and then I started running on him, and I told him, "Hey, stop right there, stop right there." And he kept running, and I was following him. And then I pulled out my cell phone, I called 911, and then he just turned back on me and pulled out a knife, and he just told me to stop following me.
Developments: an arrest made in the murder of a 91-year-old man, his body set on fire.
I was actually outside when someone pulled off with his car.
But now, sources telling us it's this teen in custody who spoke with Action News just hours after the crime.
And that 17-year-old was the victim's next-door neighbor.
Yeah, and tonight, the teen's grandfather talking about the gruesome crime and how he turned his grandson in to talk to police.
7 Action News reporter Kimberly Craig spoke with him. So, did the grandfather have any relationship with the elderly victim, Kim?
He really did. They were actually close. George Stewart II says he often helped Paul Munchnick. He even took his garbage out every week, and he's hoping and praying his grandson was not involved in his murder.
I sincerely pray and hope my grandson had nothing to do with this dangerous crime.
But when relatives of 17-year-old George Stewart IV saw this surveillance video of the suspect in the murder of their next-door neighbor, they admitted to police they saw similarities to young George. And after Detroit police raided their home early this morning looking for the teenager, his grandfather and other relatives later brought him to police.
We turned him in. We escorted him, took him to a homicide that we would bring him in. I took him down to homicide, accompanied by his uncle, his mother.
Around 3 a.m. yesterday, 91-year-old Paul Munchnick was found dead in an arson at the Detroit home he's lived in for decades. And now it turns out the young suspect police were looking for is George Stewart IV, who moved in next door just days ago to live with his grandparents.
Unfortunately, he came down here about 4 or 5 days ago. I haven't had a lot of interaction with him over the years because he lived in Romulus. He's my grandson. You know, he was a star athlete. To my knowledge, he had never been in any other trouble.
The 17-year-old even commenting about the killing to Action News just hours after Paul Munchnick's body was found.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It was real crazy. I wouldn't think nobody would do that to a 91-year-old. It wasn't just I wouldn't think it was possible.
Right now, I'm worried about Paul's family, my grandchild. I still love him unconditionally. The statement that Paul's father made about getting the punks off the street, I've always agreed with. I'm sorry that I'm here talking to you guys. I hope no other grandfather, father, or parent have to go through this tragedy. It's a tragedy for Paul. It's a tragedy for my family, too.
And this is the Stewart's home that was raided this morning, and sources say they did find evidence that links the teen to the crime. Still no word on any charges.
The crime itself is unthinkable, even to the mother of the man charged with setting a store clerk on fire. Today we're getting our first look at the grandmother fighting for her life in the hospital. And the man police say put her there probably won't get out of jail anytime soon. Today, David Schechter spoke to his mother. David, was she surprised to hear her son is what he's accused of?
Well, John, she did seem somewhat surprised, but on the other hand, she told us that Matthew Lee Johnson had recently gotten out of prison on a drug crime. He'd been away for 6 years, and that he's battled drug addiction for his entire life. Friends say in the 12 years she's worked at the Sphena station, the only time 76-year-old Nancy Harris asked for days off was to watch the Cowboys play. Tonight, she's in critical condition at Parkland with serious burns on her upper torso, face, and head. 37-year-old Matthew Lee Johnson is being charged with capital attempted murder and held on a $500,000 bond. His mother, Alma Johnson.
That lady's been in my prayers since, I just pray that she pull through and be all right.
Alma Johnson believes her son was looking for drug money and says she last saw him at a family gathering the night before Nancy Harris was robbed.
He seemed fine, to me, he seemed fine. And everybody else was saying it, After I left, I didn't say that long, but after I left, they said he came back around 1:30 or so.
Garland police have been in close contact with the family.
I mean, they're not doing well. Their mother is simply just holding on to life.
Friends say Nancy Harris has 3 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren. She lives just around the corner from the gas station, and many of the customers here are telling us that she was remembered as a very, well, not remembered, she is a kind and pleasant person, and the customers here really like her. Reporting live from Garland, David Schechter, Channel 8 News.
A man walks into a lift in New York and ambushes an elderly woman, setting her on fire. These surveillance pictures capture the moment Jerome Isaac threw flammable liquid over Dolores Gillespie in her Brooklyn apartment building. He's now been arrested on murder and arson charges. Residents were kept away from the building for 6 hours on Saturday while fire crews tried to clean up the damage.
I smell smoke, like electrical fire. I go back outside. I see smoke pouring out of the elevator.
Neighbours say they evacuated the building without knowing the woman was inside the lift. Many of them are still coming to terms with the horrific attack.
She was so nice that she wouldn't even hardly be in her house because she'd be out here doing what she could for the people.
She cared about the people, especially her building. So every time she come in, she always greet you, she always tell you what's going on.
It's believed Ms. Gillespie knew her attacker and owed him $2,000 for work done to her apartment.
2 days since a badly burned body is found, now a suspect is behind bars. 11 News following this breaking story since Wednesday morning. Good evening, I'm Mecca Rain. This is an 11 breaking news alert update. Tonight, a man police say murdered an 87-year-old Springs woman is behind bars. The suspect is 21-year-old Marcus Smith, arrested not far from the home homicide investigators taped off earlier this week. 11 News reporter Elisa Chen is live where the suspect was picked up. And Elisa, this arrest is actually in connection to a fire on Lower Gold Camp Road earlier this week.
Mecca, Wednesday, firefighters found a body burned so badly that it took investigators nearly 2 days to figure out that it was in fact the body of 87-year-old Kit Grazioli. Now the suspect was walking in this neighborhood when CSPD arrested him. We're just a mile away from Kit's home.
Trevor Deerdorf was hoping the news was untrue about his friend Kit Grazioli.
I mean, I have to imagine that he probably didn't know her, but maybe saw her as vulnerable, as an elderly woman living alone.
Even though she was 87 years old, she didn't act it. She was full of energy, even having a Facebook and Google Plus page.
She was a big fan of technology and probably more tech savvy than most people half her age.
He says she continued to work in network marketing.
That's a little bit, I think, out of the box for somebody her age in most cases.
Troy's judge convicted a woman today in the murder of an 85-year-old Belleville woman. The judge found Latasha Cunningham guilty of murder in the death of Yoko Cullen. Cullen was burned alive in her car's trunk after being robbed of her bingo winnings. Cullen was leaving the Fireman's Hall in Collinsville when Cunningham and 2 others carjacked and robbed her. They beat her with a tire iron until she gave up her ATM PIN number before putting her in the trunk and setting the car on fire. 21-year-old Daquan Barnes pleaded guilty in the murder last month. His uncle, 30-year-old DeMarcus Barnes, has been found mentally unfit to stand trial. Cunningham faces 20 to 60 years in prison. Her sentencing date is November 25th.
A New Jersey woman has been sentenced to 30 years after she admitted to setting her newborn daughter on fire. 23-year-old hyphen Kimberly DeVoyer gave birth to a newborn girl at her home in January 2015 after concealing her pregnancy from family members. She then drove to a remote road, doused the infant in accelerant, and set the baby on fire. The infant, who DeVoyer's family later named Angelica, was airlifted to the hospital after being discovered with burns on 60% of her body. She died of smoke inhalation and burns 2 hours after being admitted. DeVoyer agreed to plead guilty if prosecutors dropped the charges down from murder to aggravated manslaughter. She must serve 85% of her sentence before being eligible for parole.
Naomi Breton is here at the Delray Medical Center with bad burns to her face and body. When you see the video in just a minute, you'll understand why. Police say she was meeting her former boyfriend at a 7-Eleven about 2:45 this morning to exchange a custody arrangement with her son, but her son wasn't there, and what her former boyfriend did to her, police say, was just inhumane. We have to warn you, the video you're about to see is intense and graphic. Police say Roosevelt Mondesir was supposed to have his 4-year-old son Nathaniel in his Jaguar when he pulled up to this Boynton Beach 7-Eleven to meet the boy's mom. Instead, security cameras show him chasing Naomi Breton with a gas canister, dousing her in fuel. Breton bolts inside the store screaming, trying to run from her former boyfriend until he drags her back out. Seconds later, she's up in flames.
What a mean man. How awful. Boy, some men can be very, very, I don't know what's the word I want to be, abusive to someone they're through with.
Court records show Naomi Breton tried to file a restraining order against Mondesir on May 29th. In that petition, the victim wrote, quote, Roosevelt cut up furniture in the house, threw my personal belongings around the house, and continued to say, quote, I have since been threatened on a daily basis through text and voicemail messages. And Breton wrote one of those texts in part said, quote, I'm all about revenge now. I don't give an expletive. I know the law is for all of it. A judge denied the restraining order request.
They were yelling at each other. He was in the street right there.
The couple had a heated past. Police arrested Naomi back in March for allegedly throwing punches at Mondesir during a domestic fight.